The Building and Facilities Construction Committee meeting for Monday, November 18, 2024 at 10 a.m. in the resource room will now come to order. Please state your name as we go around the table so the recorder will be able to know who we are. Shirley Mazinski.
Linda Brown. Carol Gogolinsky.
Fred Fontaine.
Bob Wormy.
Matt Wojcik.
Mike Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, everybody. So the first thing on our agenda is, again, the highway building project. We did a great site walk. Thank you for everybody who came. Very interesting. And I felt it was probably would need a little more discussion if our job is to recommend, or if you don't want to recommend, that's fine, but you have the opportunity to recommend to the selectmen whether we should, you should go ahead or not. And the selectmen can do that if they so choose without our recommendation. All right. Any further comments or questions from anybody before we start? Or would you like to give again a presentation?
I don't know that we need to, I just want to, why are we sitting here? Because Selectman Fitzpatrick was assigned by the Select Board to walk point for this for the Select Board. And the committee that did a lot of this work was Selectman Fitzpatrick, along with John Furno, Adam Furno, myself, and Matt Benoit, that were involved, working with Weston and Sampson on the feasibility study, and then the choices that were made after that. The subcommittee that was formed under Selectman Fitzpatrick to review the outcome of that feasibility study to inform it.
Understand. And then we had a role in that. We did the discussion with which building needed the most work and the most care, really, to the people.
You did a tour of the three different departments.
That's right.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, we did. Mike, do you want to
So
proceed?
to help you move this along,
Sure.
we looked at three sites that the town currently owns. One being the mobile pipeline, one being the area behind the VFW that goes all the way up to, has two access points, one on U Street and Glen Street. There's 34 acres there. The existing site that they have where the highway barn is. And those three sites had issues that wouldn't make it possible to explore those. There's a lot of challenges with them. So then we explored this property out back behind the highway barn, 16 and 18 Rideout Road. And we looked into it, and we gave that to Weston and Sampson, which I emailed the report. I gave everybody the first 4 pages because they give you a quick summary about the land. The rest of it is some maps that has the zoning requirements, conservation requirements, and things like that. About 19 pages each. I do have my thumb drive in my pocket, so if anybody requires a hard copy of that, I can print them out before you leave today. I tried emailing it. Said something about uploading to OneDrive, so I sent another email out. If you can't figure out how to open that up, because I couldn't,
And I couldn't either.
I'm more than happy to print out a copy for you. All right. So since we identified that piece of property, a lot is going on. We had a phase 1 environmental study done on it, which came back with no findings, no concerns. We had a conservation agent go out there and flag the wetlands, GPS locate all the edges of the wetlands. He provided us with a map, which I have a large copy of it today. There'll also be one that'll be posted on the screen tonight at our town meeting. It identifies the different setbacks
Sorry. Excuse me.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
Different setbacks from the wetlands, whether it's 100 feet, and it's up to 200 feet, depending on what the classification of the wetlands are. Also on the map that'll be provided tonight, it shows the different test pit areas that we identified, and we actually conducted the test digging on Friday. We tested 6 of the 8 sites. One is test pit 7, it's way off to the right, abutting another property on Rideout Road. And then the other one was down behind the well, which we're not going to be disturbing, the one that's down behind the current well that's with 18 Rideout Road. So we skipped digging there. There was no reason to go down and start cutting down trees to do either one of those 2 test spots. Both of them, all the sites except for test pit number 8, that one there, we went down about 5 feet. We hit some refusal, meaning that we ran into some very large rocks, and groundwater was evident at 5 feet. All the other ones, test pit number 6, we went down 10 feet. It was all bank gravel, and there was groundwater at 10 feet. Test pit number 2, test pit number 1, test pit number 3, and test pit number 4, we went down 10 feet, and it was all bank gravel with no evidence of water at all in those. And you could have kept digging and just kept running into gravel. So everything so far is proving out well for these particular pieces of property. There's plenty of room to put the proposed buildings on, which is only in concept form at this point, because that'll be the next step if we acquire this land, or we figure out where we're going to put these buildings. The Title V was conducted on this piece of property on Saturday. I had received a message late Saturday. I went to the site this morning, confirmed that the areas were dug up for the D-box and the septic tank, which is what you need to do a Title V. Like with everything else, I don't take anybody's word on it. I have to see that it's done, so then I can give my own word on it. So at this stage, I don't know if anybody has any questions on this that I can answer for it.
Yes.
Yes.
Through the chair.
Linda?
So what were the results of the Title V?
Pass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it passed. Yeah.
You mentioned one was done, but.
Okay,
no-
yeah, no, it passed. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go
What was
ahead,
it?
Carol.
Did you say test pit 8 had water at 5 feet?
Test pit 8, so if you remember when we went up, we met at the site for our
Right,
site
right.
walk. That field, remember I walked down with Tom down towards the water?
Yeah.
That's where test pit
That's
8
where
was. It
test-
was down by there. We're not going to be doing anything in that area anyways. It was just
Okay, well, where do
something
you-
that Weston and Sampson wanted to just,
where do you plan on putting the building then? If we put a building, where's it going?
well, it wouldn't go there. If you don't mind. Madam
No,
Chair,
no. Go right ahead. Let's get everybody's,
It's kind of hard to see on that small
Yeah.
plan.
it is.
So this is test pit 8.
Right,
We're not going to build anything there.
Okay.
right? You have all of this area.
right,
Right? And you have all of this area.
right. But
Right?
we don't want to lose the building.
We're not going to lose the
lose the
building. You
office.
have a lot of space on the backside of this and up here that you could use without even touching that
Okay.
building.
And where's the septic on that building?
It's right here.
Okay, so we
Right
wanna
here.
get
The well is
and
here
septic,
and the
yeah.
septic is right here. You wouldn't even, we did a test pit at the top of the
Yeah.
hill over here.
Right,
And this is all pretty flat. Over
Right.
here, it's 521.
yeah,
It's 511 here, and
Yeah.
it's 501 down in this hole over in this area. So it's a relatively flat piece of land,
did you do
depending on the areas that you
test
want to
pits
do.
on these?
We did both of these.
Yeah.
This was obviously backfilled material, so we wanted to see what was
Right.
underneath it. So
Right.
once we got through the original, we
Yeah.
got down to the original topsoil
Yeah.
layer, and then the subsoil, and then we were back in the bank gravel again.
Okay, so how deep, before we went down into?
5 feet.
5 feet to water?
Nope.
No, no.
Nope, nope,
Okay.
nope, nope. 5 feet on water here, 10 feet on water here.
Okay,
And then this elevation changes 10 feet
Yeah.
This is 511, this is 521.
Yeah,
There was no
okay.
evidence of water at
Okay,
all in
good,
any of these.
Good, 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 good.
This one,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
Yep.
The only reason that I'm asking that is, we have, in our bylaws, it says that you can't have to stay 10 feet above groundwater or something. I think they ran into that when they were doing the big project over there. It's.
10 feet above groundwater you would be 4 feet above groundwater for a septic.
Oh, I know. I agree.
But
I'll tell you what.
for a building, I don't believe so.
In fact, I brought this up at the planning board. I wanted them to change that.
Yeah.
Because the reason that came in, and I remember this, like, was probably, I don't know, 30 years ago, was big concern about earth removal. That if we ended up, everybody's taking all this gravel out, the land is going to become worthless. They won't be, the town is going to end up taking it for back taxes. We won't be able to sell it. And so I suggested, okay, so we'll make a thing. You can't go within 10 feet of groundwater, then the land will stay good and we'll be able to sell it. Well, we now know that the most expensive land in this town are those peated out gravel pits. So I had suggested that they change this, but they think that there was some great environmentalist that came up with that. It was no great environmentalist. I came up with it, and I think it needs to be changed. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's why I brought that in.
Yep.
It's only been implicated once.
Yeah,
It was on Mrs. Keogh's side.
yeah,
There was a private developer got pretty close to the groundwater.
yeah. So, anyway, that was the question that I had.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes, Fred.
I just happened to notice on Dynamic Douglas, there's a resident who's close by who has concerns about this project. Look, just, I don't know her, I don't know where her house is, but just looking at this, it doesn't seem like it won't be seen by any houses.
No, it only abuts commercial property on Red Elk Road. Everybody knows where the Douglas Animal Hospital is.
Yeah.
There's a driveway just before it. It goes up and it splits off. There's two different businesses up there. One is B&L Pool, the other one is Osmosis or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I can show you on this map.
Up in there.
That's this property that's right here. You're not abutting any residential property at all here.
Okay.
Excuse me?
If I could.
Yes,
Oh,
Linda.
occupied
What,
residence.
I did look at the pond, and across the pond, there is houses there. So maybe that's the resident. Because it's all cleared, there are no trees on the other side.
Potentially,
of
but
the
we're not
pond.
gonna, they're gonna still have the natural buffer of trees because we're not gonna touch anything
To the pond.
to the pond.
Okay.
We're not even gonna touch anything within 100 feet. There's no reason to. We have no desire or thought to be building down next to the pond because there's so much other valuable, usable land that's there.
So with the exception of Mrs. Buxton, who owns that house that is on the
Yeah.
southern side of the pond, you'd have to go several hundreds of feet to get to a residential structure, because this land to the west and to the north is all Chesborough land that they have not developed.
And I don't think it was Mrs. Buxton. I saw
No.
that thing too. I don't know who it was, but I don't think it was Mrs. Buxton.
It is, and if anybody wants to see it, it's on Dynamic Douglas.
The other thing, I noticed that they got the 200-foot buffer, and they do not have the 200-feet buffer from Riddlebrook, and that's because if it's behind an impoundment, it's not.
Oh, no, it is here.
Where-
It's that blue line?
Yeah, but, no, take it, there's nothing over here.
So
That's the
what
pond.
Brandon is telling you.
Right, yeah,
Is that's really not Riddlebrook. Okay, that's an intermittent stream. So all of his setbacks are based upon his finding as a certified wetland scientist, that that's an intermittent stream.
okay,
If you look down here in the corner of the left of the map,
right,
you see a blue line there?
Yep.
That's 200 feet away from Riddle Brook, which is going to run into the west side of the pond.
right. And once it gets in the pond, it's not considered part of the river spill because
Right.
it's,
Right.
it's behind an impoundment, okay.
Yeah.
Those blue lines come back
Yeah, I see them up
over here
here.
on the eastern side.
Yeah.
You see how deep that setback goes.
Right,
Yes, Fred?
So just to be clear, there'll be no houses that will be able to see this even in the winter when there's no leaves on the trees.
I can't guarantee that.
Okay.
I can't guarantee that. I can't see your house or mine.
right, right.
But you're looking through trees, so if they paint their house a bright color, you'd see it. Right, so
I'm just trying to
there's no way,
alleviate this
yeah, there's no way of
person's
confirming that you're not going to be able to see it.
concerns. Just by looking at these, it seems like it's pretty far back.
It is.
I doubt very much that they could see it, but I couldn't confirm and tell you, oh, yeah, they're not going to see that.
But this picture isn't where the barn is going, right?
What's that?
Right now, this picture isn't where the new highway barn is going. It's going to go.
No, that's
in this
over the
area.
house, right there, where they
Yeah.
put that. That's
Yeah.
actually, if you look at that plan,
Yeah.
the house
Is under there, yeah.
is right about here. No, I was just showing you
Well,
on the map.
it-
The best thing we can do is stop circulating that map.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
That was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weston
Yeah.
and Sampson's original concept.
right.
And it's no longer valid because the house is going to actually end up saving us a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good, it's going to make a good office.
so,
We've identified all the needs of what this particular
Yeah.
department needs, as well as the other two departments. And that's what we're focusing on, Weston and Sampson, throughout their concept. And we really didn't dive into that too much until we figured out where we're going to put it. Because if we don't have a plan, it's like everything else. If you don't have funding, you can't move forward. If we don't have land, you can't move forward.
Yep.
This particular piece of property, I think it's a good value for the town because of where it's located. You got three-phase power that runs up right to the very beginning of it. There's actually power that goes all the way back to this back house. You can utilize that house for office space initially at some point. As the town evolves, maybe that house gets changed or removed, and then the office gets incorporated into the bigger building.
You know what, I didn't know, how do they actually access that house? Do they, if people were living there, would they be going through that right away between the two?
Correct. That's the only way in.
That's
The way we went up there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, there is, I guess there is frontage on Rydell Road, but there's no driveway that goes there.
That's right.
Okay.
I have another.
But just 1 minute, is there an emergency type of way to get out of there if need be?
The only way you're going to get out of there is you'd have to go back, all the way back to the entrance, and just before those buildings that are there, there's a 40-foot access that comes out on the Rydell Road.
Okay. I thought I saw.
You mean with the river there? Or,
The road's already existing, it's
Yeah,
established.
it's already
so,
there.
Yeah.
On Rydell.
But that still means crossing the brook again.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought there was some actual frontage on this property right on Rydell Road.
there it is,
That's what
yeah.
I just described.
Yeah, but it's more than 40 feet, isn't it?
It's right here.
I don't think so.
It's a 40-foot right-of-way that comes up. I don't know what the width of that is.
Is that upside down?
Could be.
It is.
It's pretty wide. Pretty wide, but part of it goes into
See
the,
all that
Yeah,
green?
I think that's a lot more than,
part
It
of
is
that
40
captures that
yeah,
river as
yeah.
well.
Linda, you had one more?
Yes, my biggest concern is the dam. After all, you guys did the site walk, I went over and looked at the dam to see what the condition is, because the town taking a dam that was built probably 200 years ago may or may not be an issue. So, and the liability that
Yep.
goes along with it. And I know that the highway department was recently up there. They had to replace or move some pipes on Rydell because that retail outlet right next door, that abuts this property, had flooded out, I guess, 1 or 2 times. And it's from this Rydell Brook. So I went up and looked at the dam and the condition, and it's basically just an earthen dam. And in my opinion, it's very hazardous. I mean, I grew up next door on Meeks Pond. My parents owned an earthen dam, and not the sluice way, but just the earthen part of the dam. And I stood below that dam and the earthen part, and I looked up, and there were boulders that had popped out of the bottom. I don't know if that was from an extreme rain but there's no water going over the dam, and that Rydell Brook is flowing, and I believe the water is coming out from under the earthen dam.
There is seepage at the bottom of the dam. If you brought this up to me last week, and no water goes over the top because it's only, and it's designed as a little spillway. Right?
Correct, I saw
So
that.
the water is down, and let me finish.
Yeah.
The water is down 2 to 3 feet, so nothing's going to spill over, obviously. When it does spill over, it goes into this little pocket area, and then they have it's about an 8-inch pipe that they have for an overflow that goes through it. There is seepage at the bottom. There's water in there. I don't necessarily consider it flowing, but there's water in there. And if you look at, I looked at the report from 2009, that's the last time last time the inspection was done on that with a report, and they called out the exact same thing back then. So we're going to, that's the final piece that we need on this piece of property.
From the
town administrator is
2009?
Very adamant that we're not buying a pig in a poke here. And the proper inspection is going to be done. What's good is now we can compare that inspection report to the one that was done in 2009, and they should be fairly consistent, right, as what their findings were.
Rick,
Yes.
question, is the dam, if we purchase this property, would the dam be totally on our property?
Yes.
So we probably could eliminate it.
That
Well,
might
we
be
don't own
tough.
the entire body of water, so there would have to be an agreement from the other property owners.
And
my
plus,
understanding.
doesn't the DEP get involved with this? There's
He wants us
wildlife
to
in
get rid of
there?
the dams
or-
to start
Oh,
with.
they
they do.
want them all gone.
Yes.
They want them all
Okay.
gone.
Yeah.
Is it stocked? I mean, we don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I did see fish in
It's
there.
like seeing the house. right?
When I walked down,
Yeah.
you were right.
There's fish everywhere.
And you know what I think they are? Brown trout.
Think so?
I've never, they're not perch, they're not pickerel, they're not hornpout, they weren't tadpoles.
Maybe they're kivers.
No.
Not
Meeks
givers.
Pond was full of all those kind, but they were brown and kind of,
I wouldn't be surprised. The fact that
Yeah.
there's water in this pond.
And the
it's a
rivers. Mm-hmm.
moderate drought, it means that the water is, that's a,
Spring fed.
and there were
Pretty bad, cold water.
hundreds of them all along the shore. Yeah, it's
We're not approaching
interesting.
this piece of property lightly. There's
Yeah.
a tremendous amount of effort that's been put into checking off all the boxes to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we're not going to end up with a piece of property that's useless to us, or that there's a inherent problem, right? So the last piece that we have is the dam inspection, right? The well that's up there, we're bringing a water line up anyways because we need to sprinkle the building. Over 7,500 square feet has to be a sprinkler in it. I've already talked to Bob Sullivan, Water and Sewer Commissioner, and his intentions are not only to bring it up, but to loop it back on the Rideout Road. It'll give it better flow.
I have another follow-up. If the dam inspection that you do says it's extremely hazardous, and this eminent domain article passes, does that mean that we're responsible to fix this dam?
No.
Even if you say, oh, we can't buy it now?
A condition of our purchases and sales is for us to be satisfied with the dam report and
Okay.
agree to accept whatever's in that, right? Positive and negative. If we choose not to, it's a condition of sale. If we say, no, we don't want any part of that dam, then we walk away from it. That's why we insisted on having that done. And if
Okay.
I'm wrong, Mr. Administrator,
no,
correct me.
I'm not intervening because that's the truth. The only flavor I want to add to this is that we will probably have to revisit this crossing as part of the project. So when we talk to the engineers about that crossing, and we have a fresh dam safety inspection, while we're there, because the crossing is not cheap. I'm going to say it again for the record, because it's very important. Carol was 100% correct, and the town administrator was not,
Wow.
on the estimate of the cost of a crossing.
We got 7 witnesses.
You were better than my husband. He never admitted I was right.
I'm much more well-trained. You haven't met my wife. But I say that only half ingest, because it is a substantial expense.
Right.
We're going to be running trucks full of whatever material
heavy-
across it.
heavy
It needs to be a
materials, yeah.
heavy-duty crossing. So if the advice that the engineer provides at that time is, well, if you're going to do that, there's things we can do to this dam, then that's what we'll do. It'll be part of the project. However, if it were an unsalvageable situation, we wouldn't purchase the I wouldn't recommend purchasing the property to the select board, right? Because it just, that's not what we need. Just so that everybody knows, there are dams that the town has jurisdiction over, including Gilboa. That's our dam. We took that dam as part of a tax taking
Yes,
several years ago.
yes.
And we've been keeping up with the inspection reports, and, you know, it's a very different universe, right? Those are heavy blocks.
That's a correct dam, yeah.
But it still needs to be maintained,
Right.
right? So there's vegetation removal, there's a bunch of things that we will do as a property manager that a private party may not do with one little house tucked in the back here, which is bear the expense of removing vegetation and doing the inspections on a timely basis. But it is their specialty to inspect a dam and to rate it. You know, these firms that do these reports. So we will rely upon the results that they give us before making any decisions.
That was my concern. It's the liability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, excuse me,
Yes.
part of it too, on the price that you came up with, they're going to take care of that old building that's half travel trailer.
So the landowner has agreed, and we have suggested
Yeah.
that, so even if we don't buy the property, we are going to help her out with that. We're going to do some good old-fashioned fire department training.
Oh, okay.
The locus of the pond actually helps us, because we need to practice drafting from
Oh, okay.
the source. Now, we probably won't
Yeah.
do this during a drought. We
Yeah.
won't be allowed.
No, I don't think so.
But that's the plan.
Hey, maybe take that building down with the one on near the cemetery?
May-
Hey,
may-
One step at a time. That's a capital discussion, not a BFC
may-
one.
may I bring up?
Yes.
Tonight, when you go to the meeting, I'm going to tell you, the biggest pushback you're going to get is everybody's all on a rattle over this eminent domain. They don't understand that it's, you know, it's not really eminent domain. It's not like we're going up to somebody and saying, we're taking your property whether you like it or not, which is, I think, what people think. And, you know, a few times we've done that. And the times I've been involved too, we always get a lot more when it's an unhappy eminent domain. But this is a happy eminent domain, so you're going to have to really stress that, because that seems to be a big concern for people. And it's the
Yeah.
best thing we're doing, because you're going to clean that title.
I don't like the term either, right?
Yeah,
So it was
right.
with great trepidation that we even approached this
Yeah.
conversation.
Right,
But as town council will
right.
doubtless opine tonight, so we have a written affidavit from the owner that she is satisfied with the price and is willing to go forward on this.
Right.
And my understanding is that she will be present at town meeting.
Oh, good, good.
Would prefer not to do a public speaking exercise, but if she had to, she would.
Right.
One of the things we've learned as we've done projects around the town of Douglas is that, and this is true everywhere in New England, every municipality I've worked for, we've had this issue, where you start digging back and doing title, and then you find that handwritten deed from the 1800s with the life estate, right? And that's always the tricky ones, the life estates or remainders, you know, springing interests. And everybody scratches their head and said, oh, right? So one of my favorite cases was a very large and well-known family in Tiverton owned a piece of property. One of the heirs was a single woman, and she felt strongly about education, so she donated her life estate
Oh, boy.
for the construction of a school next to Nanaquacket Pond. Well, when she died, the school kept going.
Yeah.
It was a town school,
Yeah.
right? And then they threw some books in there and called it a library for a little while. But now it's in the way.
Yeah,
And two people have built homes right next to it that are way over $1 million,
Yeah.
as you can imagine, being that close to the water. And so now the town was scratching its heads like, do we even own this thing? And the fact is, you don't,
yeah,
right? So you have 50, 60 heirs from a piece of land that was donated back in the 1840s. You don't want to go far down the road on a project like this and have these kinds of title issues thrown at you. Eminent domain does two things. One is, once it's executed, once it's filed at the Registry of Deeds, it extinguishes all claims. So no matter who comes out of the woodwork from the 1700s, I'm a long time, we owned this land before the Chesbros were even born. That's one thing you want to avoid. And the second thing is, it's just in the immediate conversation, no matter what controversy surrounds it.
Right.
Once the town once town meeting authorizes the select board to file this at the Registry of Deeds, that the gig is up.
Right.
At that point, the only thing that can be contested is the value.
Right.
But once the town has that authority and goes forward, this will be the third time in my tenure here as town administrator that we've done eminent domain.
Yeah.
One was on Webster Street, right, where a gentleman with the last name Sullivan donated land to the town as
Right.
part of a very complicated transaction with the DCR. And the town wanted a piece of land to develop, sort of as compensation for having all that land going off the tax rolls. And then he welched on the gift, right? And this was a long back and forth, and a lot of the negotiation for that land had been handled by Selectman Davis,
Yeah.
and he really felt like he had been completely,
Bamboozled.
yeah, I guess you could say bamboozled, but it wasn't through any fault of his own.
No,
Sometimes when you're
cheated,
bamboozled, it's your own.
basically.
He got cheated out of it. So the town took the land
Yeah.
for $1. Town meeting authorized that. We ended up paying Mr. Sullivan like $14,000.
Yeah.
For about 11 acres of land. So it was a good deal for the town. The town turned around and sold that for almost $250,000.
Yeah.
And there's still live conversation about up development happening there. That, in fact, tonight, on town meeting warrant, there is the extinguishment of the remainder interest in an old easement that
Yes,
will
I
allow
remember
that
that,
land
yeah.
to be developed. Once it's developed, it'll be a tax-paying commercial entity. The only other time we did it was with the Hall family
Yeah.
holding, that was like 3 little acres smack dab in the middle of the warehouse.
I remember that one.
Right, and that one, to be blunt, they didn't even know they had it.
Yeah, right.
Nobody had paid taxes on it in 60, 70 years. There were 20, 30 heirs, and they were all reached by mail
Yeah.
or by phone, given their options, and they had 3 years to contest the value.
Yeah.
But once the town filed that eminent domain, taking the project and was able to go forward,
Right.
that's $1.8 million worth of new growth
Yeah.
in the town's revenue. So that was a logical use of the power. Hopefully this will be the last time we ever have a conversation about eminent domain. It's not the greatest part of the Constitution to deal with, but in the case where the owner is perfectly happy and understands, and we're paying over the appraised price. We're paying $175,000 more than the appraisal, primarily because we have the benefit of this house. It's still a good deal for the town, but it's a very good deal for her. That's how she sees it.
Fred?
What's the plans for the existing highway department buildings?
For the time being, the way we're going to reduce the cost on this project is to not rush to a conclusion on the salt barn. So we're going to, for at least a couple of years, operationalize the salt, use the existing salt barn for the road salt operation when we have snow. The garage will still be there for smaller pieces of equipment, but frankly, I really want to tear it down. I think the space itself is more useful
Yeah.
than the building. So even if we end up leaving the salt barn closer to the road as opposed to bringing it back here, we still do need a new one, because the one we have, I call them flying buttresses, because I think it's fun to compare that building to a cathedral in Europe, but the thing is being held up by timbers that hold up, and when you did the tour, you probably noticed it in the back.
Yeah.
the reason why we would want to stay near the road is a few things. Generally speaking, every year, we allow people to take all kinds of materials for free for their driveway. So we have sand that we let people take. We've been putting the wood chips over behind the old VFW, but wood chips, mulch, other things that we produce just as part of clearing the sides of the streets. And environmentally, whatever the salt barn has or has not done to the property that it sits on, why compound that by making a second site? Just move it closer to the street and bring it up to modern code requirements for a road salt storage facility. So that's where I'm at with the existing building. We all love to preserve artifacts. I'm the biggest pack rat in the world. My wife will tell you, I still have toys when I was a little kid. And I think there's some, because for some people, there's going to be an emotional connection to this little building, but it really doesn't have any useful purpose. So we'll take lots of pictures.
Is there enough space there that we could ever put the a future police department in that spot?
At the, where the highway bond is?
Yeah,
Potentially, we have to extinguish that easement that comes down through the south first.
right.
Yeah.
So.
Just
it's
curious if
all
that's,
thoughts that are floating around. Right.
because I would think you wouldn't need as big of a place for a police department as you do for a highway department. You've got some cruisers and,
Well, you're right when you say highway department.
right, highway
Right.
department, you need a lot of
You need
space.
a lot of space. Police departments, so we just built one in Westport, the town where I live,
Yeah.
like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The pricing was totally different back then.
Yeah, yeah.
It was $9 million, and you would die to have this thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gorgeous, right? So cedar shingles, cupolas on the roof, many corners in the building.
Yeah,
They skimped on a few things, right? They didn't really build a shelter for the cruisers in the back, which
Mm-hmm.
is too bad. That was still close to a 10-acre
was that big?
operation, because they have some things. So they have a crime investigation trailer, they have an impound lot, a bunch of things that are associated with the police department. Sometimes I
know
just
Sutton,
want to frame
but I don't
people's
want it big.
expectations that
Yeah.
the best building you have is the building we're sitting in.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of floor space on the second floor that we don't use. And while it may not be ideal to have the police in the basement,
Right.
if they had a stronger presence here on the first floor,
right,
people's opinion might change a little bit.
yeah.
I'd like to see every square foot of this building being used for the taxpayers' good, because you are heating and cooling it.
And I noticed
Because
that
there's
the
pipes.
police chief doesn't seem to be in a rush to leave.
Well, I don't know. I think he understands
like
he's
more
space
space,
constrained.
but
Yeah,
I think he seems to like this area,
yeah.
that's all.
Oh, for employment, you mean?
No, just, well, a part of
Oh,
it too is
logistics?
You mean the location of the...
the location and plus the fact that he doesn't have to pay the heat and everything under his budget,
When
so,
we first started this back in '21, I went to all three departments and
Yeah.
asked them where they wanted to be, and they all had the exact same answer, the center of town.
Yeah, right.
I had the same question, where's the center of town?
yeah, right,
Just, instead of assuming, I wanted them to tell me what they.
Yeah, right.
And they all meant where the,
Right.
highway and fire is today.
That's actually what's called in the olden days Centerville.
Yeah. So many years ago,
yeah,
the original intent
yeah,
was put all three
yeah,
up there.
yeah.
It's Centerville.
Yes. Yeah. Long time ago.
One benefit we get from here, though, that I don't want to take too lightly, is that access to the school buildings is very quick,
Yes.
and that's a strategic advantage that we
Yeah.
should think twice about changing that.
There is one thing that I asked when we did our tour of 3 departments. And when I got to here, I did ask them, where do you think you should be as a department? And they said they were happy with here. I have a concern. Because when I see them fly down that road, and believe me, they're doing a good job, and getting out onto the main road, and with the traffic as it is now, one of the biggest things that people are complaining about, at least to me, in conversation, they can't understand why everybody is going so fast through town. They can't get across the street. And that's one of the big, and I hope Master Plan Group is talking about that.
You know, I'm smiling because a young woman offered to help me across the street last week. I'm now officially a little old lady.
Oh, man. Anyone else? Questions, please? You know, these gentlemen have agreed to meet with all of us again and given us good information. And it's an opportunity we have.
We have the chairman of the Board of Selectmen that joined us.
Welcome.
Has any input to this conversation?
No, I just appreciate everyone's deliberation to it. I did have a question on the pond itself. Describe that for me. Is there any recreational value, like pond hockey, fishing?
Wow.
Would the dam, no to the pond hockey or it's skating?
There's no established access from what we're looking at, from that side, to be able to access it with parking and stuff like that, to access it. So that would be another conservation issue.
We own like a third of it. So how is that not possible? I mean,
I didn't say it wasn't possible. What I
Oh.
said is there's no established access
Yeah.
at this point.
correct, there's no road
So
to
that's-
the
So
pond.
there's no established, so you get into your setbacks and buffer zones to the wetlands, so
But
there's a possibility.
for good
There's a
ice-
process in which to
for
go.
good ice, someone will walk a quarter of a mile. Can you do that? Do you think? Like through the woods?
I guess ultimately, it would all depend on how this site is set up. Because it will be remote, there'll have to be some sort of security measures in there as well for
Yeah.
the site. You wouldn't want to,
All right.
it'd have to be something organized. You wouldn't want unsupervised or random people just showing up to use the facilities, I would think.
And my only concern, not to be too much of a hayseed here, but if there's running water,
Right?
you will have weakness in the ice wherever there is progress by the water towards its spillway.
Especially if you have springs, which you think you do.
Yeah, so having fallen through the ice in my muskrat trapping days,
Oh, boy.
we'd have to use some experience and observation to make sure this ice was safe for people.
Yeah, I didn't know if that would have been just a last minute. Oh, by the way, it could be. But no, I think you guys are doing a great job deliberating and putting this forward, and I'm excited about it personally, but thank you.
Anyone else? Bob? No?
Yeah, I have a question. You said there was a study done on the dam in 1990?
No.
No, 2009.
Oh, 2009.
Yeah.
Is that,
2009 is the last report that it was forwarded.
is that available to look at, or?
I would, before, I guess the quick answer is yes, right? But why don't we get a current study done on it instead of one that's 15 years old?
Well, I meant, before town meeting, just for me to look at.
I'll see where I have it.
Okay,
The property
That'd be
owner
great.
may have sent it to me, somebody sent it to me.
because I couldn't find anything.
No, you wouldn't find it because
Yeah.
it was probably something I asked for.
Oh, okay.
So I think,
There's so many moving parts,
Sorry.
and I should at least explain that. There's so much going on with this that
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions. If I put out every single question and answer that I've asked over the last 3 years, I don't think we have enough time.
Well, if somebody stood up at town meeting and said, why wasn't it done already,
Why wasn't one done already?
a study done already, you'd have to say, well, there was one done in 2009.
We're funding it, that's the thing.
Correct,
Right.
I know.
We requested that it gets done,
Yeah.
but they, like everything else, it's a lead time.
Yeah, but
And,
it's the
I believe
owner's
that's
obligation.
expected to be completed by the end of this coming week.
Yeah.
because I was pushing to try to get all this stuff done before
Yeah.
town meeting. But you can only push so hard that people do whatever they get done. I wasn't even expecting the Title V
Yeah,
response until the
that's a
end
big
of
deal.
this week. So I got a verbal that was done. I went and seen that it was physically
Done,
disturbed.
excavated, right.
And the report will come, and if I get it today, I'd be surprised, but we'll have it sometime this week. But those two things are a condition of sale, right? And if the town administrator and the board of selectmen aren't satisfied with the results of those two requested documents, I don't see it getting support to move forward from the selectmen or the town administrator.
Well, if you find the old one, could you email
Oh,
me
yeah,
a copy?
no, I'll find it.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Fred?
Question that pertains to that. So the dam inspection, is it a pass-fail, or is there different degrees of,
Well, it'll tell you the condition of it. You have the one that's down by Hayward Landing right now, that's in terrible condition.
Two of them. Yeah, they have a checklist of a bunch of different factors, right? But then they add it all up,
Thanks, Tim.
right? And they consider different aspects of the dam and whether or not they're all passing or all failing. That's pretty much how it works. It's not a straight up or down, pass-fail, light switch type thing.
Right.
They're going to look at the abutments, all the rest of it, whether the spillway's clear, or the vegetation is growing on the sides, yada, yada, yada.
I have something to add to that. If, like Dudley, the Dudley Dam off of Southeast Main, where the cemetery is, corner southeast, and near the gazebo.
Yep.
There's a dam there, and that one says it's extremely hazardous. And I'm like, wow, I wouldn't think. I mean,
May I
But they
say
fixed
something
it a
about
few
that?
years ago. Don't you remember? The pond was drained because one of our more enterprising private developers decided to fix it without telling anybody?
I thought the Beagle Club owned that.
Well, they hired someone to fix it for them.
Hold, okay.
Yeah.
Carol first, and
Let
then,
me say something. Hazardous dam doesn't necessarily mean that it's in poor condition.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
when it says extremely
Well,
hazardous.
I think that you may find that, the dam up at the reservoir is considered a hazardous dam.
That one too, yeah.
But it's in great shape and everything else, so it's not going to be coming down. But it's just hazardous doesn't necessarily mean that it's in poor shape.
okay,
That's all.
Fred?
so the way that the agreement's going to be written, so the board of selectmen can say, no, we don't want it for any reason? My concern being the owner saying, oh, the inspection said it's fine, it's whatever level of good, the dam's fine, but the board might say, oh, no, we don't want it. Could that get sticky? Does that make sense?
Well, I think if,
Or is it written that the board can just pull out for any reason?
Well, at town meeting, it doesn't even say.
Hold it. So, anybody, Mike or Matt,
That would
do you
be a
have
math
a,
question. If you have a purchase and sales and you're not satisfied to the requirements of what you're asking for, then that's a reason for you to pull out of your purchase and sale.
But the seller could say, but the
But-
inspection says it's good enough.
I really have trouble with hypotheticals.
Well, it depends on what's in the purchase and
But-
sale.
hold it?
Hold one second. According to Massachusetts Dam Safety, as amended in Chapter 330 in Acts of 2002, the Riddlebrook Road Dam is small in size and stature, and I will email this to everybody here, so that way you have it. This was emailed to me by the representative of the seller. That's where I got it. So therefore, in accordance with the Department of Conservation and Recreation classification procedures, and under Commonwealth of Massachusetts Dam Safety Rules and Regulations stated in 302 CMR 10.00 as amended by Chapter 330 in the Acts of 2002, the Riddlebrook Road Pond Dam should be classified as a low Class 3 hazard potential dam. It's a
Should
low.
be, but we don't know yet.
Again, I'm
Okay.
telling you what's in the report. So
Yes.
that's not by something I Googled, that's in the report. It should be listed as a low-level
Could I-
class 3.
And what that means is if it breaks, it's not going to be a big problem downstream. That's
Right.
what that means.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's ready to break or it's not ready to break. It means if it does,
Yeah.
it's not going to be,
Yeah.
it's not going to cause,
Well, I
The
have
pond is a 30-acre pond.
right.
But that still doesn't mean you might have to pay to fix it sometime.
30 acres?
No, not even close.
No, I just came from the assessors, and we figured it out, it's 6 acres,
6 acres.
The pond is 6 acres.
whereas Meeks Pond is 2. That's a small pond. So
Anyway,
this is,
I'll forward this report.
Sure,
Yeah.
thank you.
Taken for whatever it is, it's 15 years old. I would rely more on a current report than I would on something that's 15 years old.
But, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I understood the question to be a technical question about town meeting process. So, the town meeting is the legislature. So provided that the moderator is amenable to the motion being phrased in a certain way, because he may say it's outside the scope of the article, but he might say that certain limiting factors in a motion may be within the scope of the article. So if you were to move the approval of this authority for the select board, conditional upon a satisfactory dam safety report, or conditional upon, you know what I'm getting at. I think town meeting can vote that. And that's a limitation on the authority of the select board. I just think that's how town meeting works. Now, if you wanted to put all kinds of conditions on there that really change the
No.
conversation of what is on the warrant, the moderator might rule them out of order because they're outside the scope of what you're being asked to vote on. But in this particular case, town meeting is being asked to grant its authority. So I think town meeting members can put some sidebars on that authority if they should choose. One of the reasons we did all this due diligence before town meeting, though, was to try to reduce the number of conditions that people considered unanswered questions.
May I-
Yes,
may I-
yes.
I'm just, on the purchase and sale agreement, do we, the town has the right to back out for,
Well,
let's put it any reason,
I want to be really clear.
right?
We have a set of terms and conditions that we have set.
Right,
And those terms and conditions must be met by the owner, because this is not a purchase
right,
in the traditional sense. This is eminent domain.
right,
So the conditions have to be met before the select board files a notice of taking at the registry of deeds,
right,
right? So it puts actually a lot of the responsibility on the select board to make sure that the transaction is acceptable to everyone involved, because once that notice of taking goes and gets filed in the registry, you'd have to rescind it, right? Rescinding it would be an act of town meeting, because now you have an interest in real property, and they can't make that choice. They're authorized to file a notice of taking.
right.
They wouldn't be authorized to rescind it unless town meeting wanted them to rescind it.
That's
So we
not-
can't
Go ahead.
file it until all the conditions are met. And then there's really not a closing as much as there is an exchange of,
But that's,
we give them a check.
that's not really where I'm going. I guess where I'm going is not what the seller has on it.
Okay.
The thing is, on the purchase and sale agreement, it's, we're the ones who have, can we put that building that we want on this particular property? And if we find for some reason whatsoever it won't fit or whatever, we don't want the property, can we back out? That's all I want to know. Or does the purchase and sale agreement tie us into it once the town says
There
we
is
can
no
buy it?
purchase and
So
sale.
what I just got out of what
Okay, okay.
our administrator just explained to us.
Okay.
To the group, was the final act,
Yeah,
or part of the process.
Right.
Is the select board voting to issue the eminent domain.
right,
If we haven't met all the conditions that we want,
right,
the board's not going to
right,
vote
okay. So it's, yeah, it's,
push that forward.
okay,
Am I
sounds,
correct?
sounds good to me.
So,
That's right. So the thing that I think is really important here is that once town meeting takes this vote, right,
Yeah,
the select board will deliberate on next steps in public open session,
Right,
because there's no more strategy involved
right,
that's protected by an exemption to open meetings.
right.
Now you have a valid authorization, you could have a valid authorization from town meeting to take an act, to take an action that the other parties agreed to. So at that point, all that business has to occur on the agenda in open session, and people can participate in that conversation.
Okay. That answers my question.
Yeah. So town meeting votes first, then the selectmen vote after town meeting. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe not right away. There are some
Correct.
things that
Yeah.
will have to punch the punch list.
Anyone else?
Just a comment, so that's another benefit of doing it by eminent domain.
It is a positive of going that way, is, right?
Yeah, understood.
I'm, yeah. In this
That
particular
clears up what I was-
transaction, it
That
helps.
clears up my concern
Because
with
we're
it.
authorized to vote for that, but we're not compelled to vote for it.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Good? All right. What is your wish?
What do we,
You just
You
look at
vote
the-
to recommend to the Board of Selectmen. You don't have to. I think it would be a good idea. You've listened to enough of this, and you've asked good questions, and it's up to you as a board.
do they need our
Yeah,
recommendation?
Yeah.
so just one part of the boxes that I'm checking off
Right.
throughout this whole process is to get everybody's input, obviously. But if there's any support out there, it just helps through the process. So then I can clearly say that met with the building and facilities, the subject comes up. And they supported it, or they did not support it, whatever, there was 3-2, whatever the outcome is, right? Just so you can clearly make the statement, just like I did with the Title V, I went and looked at it. So it's just part of the process. So if you guys are inclined, I would like to have some sort of vote on it, whether you support it or not.
Somebody going to make a motion here?
Apparently not.
No, I don't want.
I'm going to excuse myself. I have an 11.
Yes.
and I gotta-
Thank you.
That's nice. I'll make a motion that we recommend
To the Board of Selectmen.
to the Board of Selectmen
Yes.
that the town take by eminent domain the two parcels as noted,
16, 18, right over.
16 and 18 Rydell Road, for the purpose of building a new highway department facility.
Do I hear a second? Okay. Fred, motion to move forward and recommend, and Bob, second. Do I hear any more discussion? And I think it's been a good discussion. If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
I will abstain.
And I will vote for. So it's Carol, myself, Fred, and Bob. All right, thank you, and I think it was good conversation.
Carol,
Can I
Yes,
ask
Carol.
something? Because I'm new, the new
Yeah,
kid here on
sure.
the block, but are we allowed to like maybe bring up some ideas? I'm not talking about this project at all, for people to think about. And I guess the
At a-
reason I'm
at a-
saying that is that
Yeah.
something just flashed in my head as we were talking here. And what flashed in my head, and I know that this might sound like heresy in this town, but if those cruises are flying out that fast, and I understand why they have to do
Yeah.
it, maybe it's time for a stoplight.
that will be a discussion on a future agenda.
I mean, I think
It says it right here on our agenda, topics not reasonably anticipated.
Oh, okay, so this is,
Yeah,
this
bring
is,
it up.
All right.
this is what I'm
Thank you,
saying.
Mike. You're welcome to
Everybody
stay.
good with me?
Yeah.
I think so. You've given us great
I'm
information.
going to email over that report.
Please, yeah,
I'm not going to try to attempt it on my phone.
yeah.
I'll go
Yeah,
back,
sure.
download it onto my computer and then everybody read it.
Thank you,
The only
thank
thing
you.
that I just-
Oh, and if you want to print out those other things, I never could open them.
Do you want
I would like them,
them?
yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want a copy of those reports?
Yeah, it comes with maps.
Whoa. Yeah, I
Sure.
like that.
Yeah,
I'll go get a copy printed out. Would you like one?
yes,
Okay.
please.
So I'll go
Okay.
get 2 copies printed out.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody
Did you want
leave, and I'll
one,
be
Linda?
right back.
All right, we've just got 2 sets of minutes to take care
I'm
of.
really slow.
And I have to leave shortly, but we may not have our regular meeting.
In 2 days?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
There wasn't enough time to get stuff ready for
You
this.
don't want to get the stoplight going?
Not yet. So you have minutes of September 18th, 2024. What
And
is your?
I had questions on these at the last meeting. Number 3, you see it's highlighted there?
Yeah,
And, it looked like we were authorizing this water project, but it wasn't. The town is doing this water project.
Right, yeah.
So we changed that to the town. So I'll make a motion to approve the September 18th, 2024 meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
motion made by Linda, seconded by Fred. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then we have October 16th, 2024. What is your wish?
Oh, the back of the page 2, number 4, where it says, Mr. Wojcik went into detail about the Depot Street with the sidewalk. It shouldn't be the word "the," it should be taken out of there.
Excuse me. Sorry.
About the Depot Street. Doesn't, the word "the" does not go before Depot Street.
Any further discussion? Any comments? Okay. If not, do I hear a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Made by Fred, seconded by Bob. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. All right. Thank you, everybody. I think we have enough information to help us through the town meeting. Good job, everybody with questions. Do I hear a motion to
Adjourn?
adjourn? I'm just looking at my notes here, thank you. Upcoming meetings, I'm sorry, December 18th and January 15th. Do I hear a motion? Yeah, all in favor to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. What
Second.
time is it? Can you see?
It's 11:05.
05,
All in favor?
Well, we're going to need a second.
second.
Second by Bob, thank you. I have to leave.
What time is our billing facilities, 10 o'clock on December 18th?
Yeah,
Yes.
Always, unless, yeah, we have a group that can't meet at that hour. All right,
And which was
guys.
the one, January 15th?
We need to vote?
We did, I think.
No,
No?
motioned and seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry.